is important, is where they overlap. So not every single shaded part works. It's only where the two shaded parts overlap. Okay? So we're going to graph these just like we did yesterday. I'm going to try and use different colors so it helps you see it better. So if you have different colors you want to use, that's a good idea too. Let's start with graphing, and I'm sorry the axes didn't show up super well, but I hope you can see it's marked X and Y. There is axes already on here. We're going to graph y is greater than 1/4 x, so my y-intercept is 0, and my slope is 1/4. So we're starting at 0. We go up 1, right 4, up 1, right 4, and go ahead and reverse that. It's y is greater than, should it be dashed or solid? Dashed. Okay. And when you shade right now, shade really lightly. Or if you don't want to shade at all, that's fine. But I'm going to go ahead and shade. That way it's really easy to see where it overlaps. Just because I feel like if you don't shade each part of it, or each inequality, it makes it hard to see the overlapping part. So I'll take my highlighter, and it's y values greater than the line. So greater than, you shade above. This part. Shade lightly if you're doing it in pencil or pen for sure. If you're using highlighters, just use a different color for each inequality. So I'm going to switch colors now. We use blue. Y is less than or equal to negative x plus 4. My slope is negative 1. My starting point is at positive 4. So we start at positive 4. I'm going to go down 1, right 1. I'm just going to go ahead and get the line for this one, so we know what that's going to look like. Come on. It should be solid because it can be or equal to. And now we need to shade. It's y values less than or equal to that blue line. So you can take your pencil again or your highlighter, whatever you got, and I'm going to shade below because it's less than. If my pen will go.
Can you shade like darker if we have a pencil now?
I would still shade lightly. All right. The actual answer is the part that's overlapping. So this right here, you have two options for me. You could find this part where they're overlapping and just shade it a lot darker, like take your pencil and really make it obvious, or you can erase everything else. So if you want to just make it a lot darker, then go back and like really emphasize this is the part that's actually the answer. The other parts are not the answers. Or you can just erase everything else. So take your eraser and go back. And erase the extra stuff that is not actually part of the solution area, because it doesn't work for both systems, only works for one inequality. And for it to be a system, it has to work for both. So that only part that works for both is where they overlap. Get to erase, it's not going. Whatever. Okay. So choose how you want to do it. Either way is fine with me. As long as it's really obvious, that's what I need from you. Well, oh well. Okay, we're moving on. Next inequality, or next system. I couldn't get the other part to erase, by the way, which is why it's not erased. Otherwise, I would have. These ones are in standard form, so the first thing you have to do is get them in slope-intercept form. We did this yesterday, so I'm going to take each one, and I need to solve each one of them for y. That way I can find the slope and the y-intercept and graph it easily. Remember, to do this, you need to move the x term over first. And then rewrite. So since the 8x was positive, I had to subtract it to move it over. Then you have to divide by what's in front of the y. So divide everything by 4. If you multiply or divide by negative, you flip the sign. We did not, so we can keep it. So y is greater than or equal to, go ahead and give me a decimal here because it's the y-intercept. So you can go ahead and put 2.5 for the y-intercept. But negative 8 divided by 4, what's that? All right, negative 2. So that's one of your equations. You have to get the other one. So now you have to solve the other one. 3x minus 6y is greater than 12. Solve that for y as well. So again, move the x term by subtracting it, and then divide by what's in front of y. So we'll divide everything by negative 6. And since we're dividing by a negative, we have to flip the sign. So y value is less than negative 2 plus 1/2 x. And in case you're wondering where I got positive 1/2 from, it was negative 3 divided by negative 6. So that's going to be positive. And if you simplify that fraction, you get 1/2. So you have your two inequalities. Now you got to graph them. Don't be psyched out because you have a decimal. Just start at 2.5, 2.5. So I'll make this one, I'll go ahead and use black and blue, since that's what I've written in. Go to 2.5 and then go down to right one. 2.5 will be about right here. And then when you go down 2, you just go 1, 2 squares like you normally would, but you'll have to end up in the middle and then go right one. Okay. Is it dashed or solid? I don't actually remember. Solid. Good. And is y values greater than? So we'll shade above or below? Above. If you're going to use pencil to shade this, shade it lightly. If you're using highlighter, just you'll see where the colors overlap. And then let's go ahead and do the next one. We start at negative 2, and we go up 1, right 2, up 1, right 2. And reverse. And that one should be dashed because it's less than, it's not equal to. Hello. Okay. Y value is less than, do I shade above or below? Less than, below. Numbers get smaller. So shade it so you can see where they overlap. And once you see where they overlap, you can either go back and erase, or you can just take your pencil and really make it obvious where is a section where they clearly overlap. That is the answer. So for mine, it would be the red part. So that's it. Just graph both inequalities, see where they overlap, erase the extra stuff, or color it in really dark so I can tell. only part that's actually the solution is where it overlaps. Okay, we're going to now write a system of inequalities. So if you could flip over to the back, this is example 2. When we're writing any type of linear function, you got to find the slope, you got to find the y-intercept. If you can find those things, then you can write them. So let's start with the dashed one. Where does that dashed line start? What's the y-intercept? Where does it start? It's not 4 because it's starting at 5. And then what's the slope of that line? It should be -1 because it's going down. So it starts at 5, then it goes down 1 every time. And think about this line. So it's y, it's either greater than, less than, something. We got to figure it out. It's dashed, so can it be equal to? No. So it's either got to be greater than or less than. Which way was it shaded, above or below? It's shaded below, so it has to be y less than that line. Y is less than 5 minus 1x. Okay, now we're looking at the solid one. If you were to just write this without the inequality, that would be the line x equals 2, right? But it's not x equals because it's inequality. What sign should I put? Greater than, can it be equal to? Yes, because solid x greater than or equal to 2. That's a solid one. Okay, last one. I'm going to help you rearrange the last inequality, and then I want you to try it. Okay? You just graph each one, shade appropriately, and find where they overlap. So we've got x plus 4 is less than or, sorry, x plus y is less than or equal to 4. Isaiah, how do I get y by itself? So if we subtract x, then really this equation is y is less than or equal to 4 minus x. What number is in front of x right now that you can't see? 1. Okay. So you have these. Oh, good. These 3 equations. Okay. I need you to graph each one. You can shade as you go. Just make sure after you're done, you go back and make sure the area that's actually the solution is clearly marked. Be careful with your dashed and solid lines, please. Greater than or equal to. Can I use a line? Are these all, they're all solid? And lesson. that's chaotic. See, it's not going to let me erase that one. So the actual answer area, nope, not that. It's much smaller. Is this little section. That's the only part that actually works, because that's where all three overlap. Okay, whenever you're done, you should summarize your notes, because we will have a quiz on Friday. You can use these notes so they have summaries.